Welcome to the order Pteroptera or the lice. This presentation will talk about the introduction to the order Pteroptera or the lice. We are also going to discuss about the different groups or the suborders under this order Pteroptera. We are also going to differentiate the two major classes of the lice, the Mallophaga and the Anoplura, the general life cycle of the lice, and the host preference of the Anoplura. Lice are a very diverse group of insects exclusively adapted to parasitism. Their body is flattened dorsoventrally. They are wingless. They are relatively small in size. They range from about 0.4 to 10 millimeter in length. They also exhibit a high host specificity, meaning that they spend the whole of their life cycle on the same animal, and some of the species also exhibit specificity to certain body regions. In humans, they cause the condition known as pediculosis or the infestation or the lice infestation. This diagram shows the four suborders of the Pteroptera in their species content, host range, and phylogenetic relationship. So the line here represents the phylogenetic relationship of the four suborders of the Pteroptera. Some of the authors or some references refer to these groups or refer to these as groups, and some authors refer to these as suborders. For the suborder Anoplura, for the group Anoplura, they mainly are found on mammals, and this number here represents the species of Anoplura that are described. For the Rhynchopterina, there are only 3 species described, and their main host range are the elephants and the warthogs. For the suborder Esnocera, there are about 3,000 species described, and they are described in birds and mammals. For the Amblycera, they are described in birds, mammals, and marsupials, and there are about 1,360 species described. This diagram shows the taxonomy of the order Pteroptera. So as you can see here, the order Pteroptera is mainly divided into the chewing lice or the Mallophaga and the sucking lice or the Anoplura. Some authors refer to Mallophaga as a suborder. Some authors refer to it as a section. Under the Mallophaga, we have here 3 groups, or in other references, it is also referred to as a suborder. We have the Amblycera, Esnocera, and the Rhynchopterina. For the Amblycera, there are about 1,350 species described in 6 families. This is considered to be the most primitive suborder, and they are widespread on birds. For the Esnocera, there are about 3,000 species described. They are considered to be widespread in birds. They are highly host-specific, and the mammal-infesting species are of veterinary significance. For the Anoplura or the sucking lice, there are about 550 species described. These are absent from birds. They are well studied, and they are of greatest medical and veterinary significance. They are important because they serve as a vector of several important diseases, and they have a low prevalence on healthy hosts. For the biology, the entire life cycle of the lice occurs on the host. Their eggs are also called as nits, and they are cemented onto host hair or feathers, as shown in this figure. All active stages of the lice, the nymphs and the adults in particular, are bloodsuckers. For the transmission is via contact between hosts, and they are unable to survive for long when they are off the host. They live in specific regions of the host body, and their identity is often indicated by the host because they are highly host specific, meaning that they spend their entire life cycle on the same host. There are only 3 species that attack humans, so lice are considered to be parasitic insects that can be found on people's heads and bodies, including the pubic area. The human lice survive by feeding on the human blood, And there are three types of lice that live in humans. These are the Pediculus humanus capitis, or the head louse, Pediculus humanus corporis, or the body louse, and the Tirus pubis, or the pubic louse. So it is said that only the body louse, the Pediculus humanus corporis, is known to spread the disease. The lice infestation in humans, which is also known as pediculosis and theriasis, are spread mostly commonly by close person-to-person contact. Dogs, cats, and other pets do not play a role in transmission of human lice. Lice move by crawling. They cannot hop or fly. There are two major groups of the order Theraptera. We have the Mallophaga and the Anuplura. They are grouped according to their distinct head morphologies that reflects their feeding habits and vector competence. The Mallophaga is also known as the chewing lice, based on their feeding habit, while the Anuplura is also known as the sucking lice. The chewing lice, or the Mallophaga, are found on both mammals and birds. From the name itself, they have mouth parts for biting and rasping the surface of the hair shafts, the skin flakes, and the scabs. They have a broad head, which is often wider than the thorax. This diagram here is an example of a chewing louse because they are mainly differentiated by their head, by a broad head that is wider than the thorax. This diagram shows the anatomical parts of the Mallophagan louse, Movicula bovis. So the three major parts of the anatomy of the Mallophagan louse, or the lice in general, are the head, the thorax, and the abdomen. For the head, the antenna is present, which serves as a sensory appendage. And when we are going to compare the width of the head versus the thorax, so the head is wider compared to the thorax. For the thorax, we have here the presence of the three pairs of thoracic legs. And the front legs is considered to be tucked under the head. We also have the presence of the claws, particularly known as the tarsal claws, and they are located at the end of the leg, and they are described as simple tarsal claws. And for the abdomen, we have here also the presence of these spiracles, the small openings that are located on the sides of the abdomen are referred to as the spiracles. And we also have here the chitinous pigmented hairs. This diagram shows the closer look of the spiracles of the head louse, Pediculus humanus capitis. We have here a diagram showing closer look of the spiracles. So the spiracles are considered to be the round external respiratory openings of the insects. Particularly in this diagram, we have the head louse. So for insects, instead of the nostrils, they breathe through openings in the thorax and in the abdomen called the spiracles. The Mallophaga, or the biting chewing lice, mostly associated with birds, and they don't attack humans. They feed on feathers, and mostly they are host specific. There are two important families under this suborder, the family Menoponidae, or the biting bird lice, and the family Phylogteridae, or the bird lice. They are considered to be pests of poultry, and heavy infested birds become emaciated. They may also bite humans when infested birds nest in houses. This diagram shows the head of the Menoponidae, showing the characteristic feature of this suborder, the presence of the mandible. Let's now proceed to the sucking lice. So the sucking lice is under the Anuplura. And unlike the chewing lice, they only occur on mammals. They have a specialized mouthparts for piercing skin and drawing up blood and tissue fluids. The head is adapted for exerting a downward pressure and so is narrower than the thorax. They also have a powerful legs with big claws for holding onto hairs. So this is an example of a sucking louse. This diagram shows the anatomy of the anopluran louse or the sucking louse, Linognathus vetuli. So for the head, when we are going to compare the head of this particular lice with that of the thorax, so it has a narrower head compared to the thorax. For the thorax, we have also the presence of the 3 pairs of thoracic legs. The only difference is that the first pair of thoracic legs have a simple claw, while that of the second and the third pairs have a compound claws. For the abdomen, we also have the presence of the spiracles, and we also have the presence of the hair rows per segment. Comparison of the two groups of lice, we have on the left we have the Mallophagan louse or the chewing lice, and on the right now we have the anopluran louse or the sucking louse. For the Mallophagan louse, they have a wider head compared to the thorax. The wide head accommodates chewing mandibles and jaw muscles. For the anopluran louse, they are sucking, and the head is considered to be narrower than the thorax, and the head only needs apparatus for piercing and sucking. This diagram is another illustration of the differentiation between the chewing lice and the sucking lice. For the Mallophaga or the chewing lice, the head is considered to be broader than the thorax, and the anterior of the head is considered to be blunt. For the sucking lice or the Anoplura, formerly known as Siphongulata, the head is considered to be narrower than the thorax, and the anterior of the head is pointed. For the life cycle, so the lice have a hemi-metabolic or incomplete type of life cycle, comprising of the adults, male and female, the eggs, and 3 nymphal stages, nymphal stage 1, 2, and 3. The louse eggs are also known as nits, and in this figure it is cemented individually onto hairs. A nymph hatches from the egg and molts 3 times before becoming an adult. So we have here nymphal stage 1, 2, and 3, then the adult. Parthenogenesis can also take place in some species. So when we say parthenogenesis, that involves the development of the female gamete without fertilization. The whole life cycle occurs on the animal and takes about 2 to 3 weeks. This diagram shows the life cycle of the head louse, Pediculus humanus capitis, a sucking lice. A female, so we have here the female head louse and the male head louse. The female lays about 50 to 150 eggs during her adult life. From the egg, so the egg, which is also known as the nits, are found on the hairs. And from the egg hatches the first nymphal stage. So we have here the nymph 1. The nymph 1 will molt 3 times to molt into nymph 2, nymph 3, and the adult, male or female. For the adult, so the adult louse is about the size of a sesame seed. It also has 6 legs. Now the same is true with the nymphal stages. And the females are considered to be larger than the males, and it can lay up to 8 nits or eggs per day. The adults can live up to 30 days on the person's head. To live, adult lice need to feed on the blood several times daily. Without blood meals, the adults will die 1 to 2 days of the host. This diagram is another representation of the life cycle of the head louse, Pediculus humanus capitis, a sucking lice. So the life cycle of the head louse has 3 stages: the egg or the nymph, and the adult. The stages of the life cycle include: number 1, we have here the egg or the nymph is laid on the hair shaft. Number 2, the nymph emerges from the egg laid on day 0. Number 3, the nymph molts for the first time, so that is the nymphal stage number 1. Then number 4, this is the second molt, the third molt, and the adult male and female. The development of the adult male or female. Then the adult male and female will mate. Then the female will lay its first eggs 2 days after mating, and can lay up to 4 to 8 eggs per day for the next 16 days. And at number 8, the louse dies. So the larvae in the adults typically die within a day or 2 if they fall off a host, because they require the temperature and relatively high humidity provided by the human body. For the significance of the sucking lice or the suborder Anoplura, so in animals they can cause irritation. It can also cause severe itching in skin lesions. They are considered to be of medical and veterinary significance because they serve as a vector of some diseases. For the Mallophaga or the chewing lice, so there are no Mallophaga species that are known to parasitize humans. Heavy infestations generally induce itching and pruritus associated with localized alopecia. Economic losses can be incurred due to decreased in milk production and growth or losses. For the host preference, we are going to start with the host preference of the sucking lice or the Anopluran lice. So all species of domestic mammals have one or several associated sucking lice species. For humans, pigs, and rabbits, they are only infested by sucking lice, and there are no chewing lice. The sucking lice do not infest birds. So most species of the sucking lice are host specific, and some are even body region specific. The slides to follow will enumerate the sucking lice of medical and veterinary importance. So we'll start with cattle. There are 2 families of sucking lice that infest cattle, and these are the family Hematopinidae and the family Linognathidae. So under the family Hematopinidae, we have the Hematopinus uristernus, Quadripertussus, and the tuberculatus. For the family Linognathidae, these are the Linognathus vituli and the Solenipotis capiliatus. These are the lice of cattle. In this diagram, these are all female lice. So the letter B here represents the letter B, C, and D are all sucking lice, while the letter A is a chewing lice. Letter B is the long-nosed cattle louse or the Linognathus vituli. Letter C is the little blue cattle louse, Solenipotis capiliatus. And letter D is the short-nosed cattle louse, Hematopinus uristernus. We also have here the adult little blue cattle louse, Solenipotis capiliatus. Buffaloes are infested with the sucking lice, Hematopinus tuberculatus, from the family Hematopinidae. This diagram shows the Hematopinus tuberculatus or the buffalo louse. This diagram shows the Hematopinus tuberculatus at different stages. So letter A is the female adult louse. Letter B is the male one. The letter C is the third stage nymph. The second nymph stage. And we also have here the first stage nymph of the Hematopinus tuberculatus. Sheep are infested with the sucking lice from the Linognathidae family. These include the Linognathus ovillus, Linognathus pedalis, and the Linognathus africanus. This diagram shows the sucking lice of sheep Linognathus ovillus, also known as the ovine face louse, 40 times magnification. This is a closer look of the Linognathus ovillus of sheep at 100 times magnification. Another sucking lice of sheep is the Linognathus pedalis or the sheep foot louse. Goats are also infested by the sucking louse from the Linognathidae family, and these include the Linognathus africanus and the Linognathus stenopsis. This diagram is the Linognathus africanus adult. This is another representation of the three species of lice that are found in small ruminants, particularly sheep and goats. The letter A and letter B represents the chewing or the biting lice of small ruminants, while the letter B is the Linognathus africanus, which is the sucking louse of goats. This is a diagram of the Linognathus synopsis of goats. We also have here the female Linognathus stenopsis. Horses are infested by the sucking louse from the Hematopinidae family, and that is the Hematopinus acini. This diagram shows the horse sucking louse, Hematopinus acini, at 12.5 magnification. 40 times magnification of the Hematopinus acini of horses. Pigs are infested by the sucking louse from the Hematopinidae family, and that species is the Hematopinus suis. This diagram shows the Hematopinus suis of pigs, also known as hog louse or giant pig louse, at 12.5 magnification. This is a closer look of the Hematopinus suis of swine at 40 times magnification. This is another diagram of the Hematopinus suis at 40 times magnification. This is another diagram of the Hematopinus suis of pigs. Dogs are infested by the sucking lice of the Linognathidae family, and that is known as the Linognathus setosus. This diagram represents the Linognathus setosus, which is also known as the dog sucking louse. We also have here Linognathus setosus under a light microscope. So the one on the left is the adult, and the one on the right is the nid or the egg of the Linognathus setosus. This is another diagram of the adult Linognathus setosus, showing the different anatomical parts of the lice, the head, the thorax, and the abdomen. The house mouse are infested by the sucking lice of the Polyplacidae family and the Hoplopleuridae family. For the Polyplacidae family, we have the Polyplaxirata, and for the Hoplopleuridae family, we have the Hoplopleura captiosa. This diagram represents the SEM of the Polyplaxirata adult. Rats are infested by the sucking lice from the Polyplacidae family, particularly the Polyplax spinulosa, and from the Hoplopleuridae family, Hoplopleura pacifica. This is a diagram of the Polyplax spinulosa of rats. This is a photomicrograph of the Polyplax spinulosa adult at 100 times magnification. Humans are infested by the sucking lice from the Pediculidae family, Pediculus humanus capitis and the Pediculus humanus humanus or de corporis. They are also infested by the Theridae family, particularly the Thyrus pubis. This is a diagram of the Pediculus humanus capitis or the human head louse adult. We also have here the Thyrus pubis or the human pubic louse adult. The head louse, or the Pediculus humanus capitis, is considered to be an obligate ectoparasite of humans. The head lice are again wingless insects spending their entire life on human scalp and feeding exclusively on human blood. Humans are considered to be the only known host of this specific parasite. For the taxonomy of the head louse, so they are under the order Theraptera, under the family Pediculidae, genus Pediculus, and the species is Pediculus humanus, and the subspecies is the Humanus capitis. So this is a diagram of the head louse, the male and the female head louse, as well as the nymphal stages 1, 2, and 3.